Hi, everyone. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. This is my takeout, my Emil Amok's takeout. You could eat here or take it out, as I like to say. This is it is a secret podcast. I do it, Monday through Friday, thereabouts, 2 p.m. And it's Christmas, so I'm holding up my my leg lamp, my Christmas story leg lamp. I talked about this yesterday because I love Gene Shepard, and Gene Shepard, he's the person behind A Christmas Story, the movie. He really was a storyteller monologist in New York on the radio, and I found the story behind this. The leg lamp is that the leg lamp stands for the trophy wife that his father sought, which led to the divorce and running off with his secretary, leaving Gene Shepard alone with his mother to be raised, a single parent. So it's the tragedy behind the leg lamp, but I don't have the leg lamp. I have the mini version, the nightlight version. So the nightlight version. And so I hope you, if you're just joining us after having a Christmas holiday, hope you had a nice Christmas. Check out shows 813 and 812. Lots to talk about today as we end the week and we go into the new year. Big story about the MAGA grants. What's a MAGA grant? A MAGA grant is an H1B visa holder who essentially is a MAGA grant essentially an indentured servant, as Liz Coulter, who is a kind of MAGA right-wing type, would like to say. I mean, she's trying to make sense. We'll bring up our friend, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, also to talk about that and some other things. Also, hey, I get my papers late because the New York Times cannot see fit to deliver to my outpost in America here in the central part of California. I can't get it delivered on the same day. And so I get it. They must think I'm a library, because who else would subscribe to the print version of the New York Times and be willing to accept it several days late by mail? I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? Must be a library, this Emil Guillermo. Yeah. So, but I'm reading from earlier in the week this story about how, because I'm very climate oriented. I'm very climate change oriented. I mean, no one wants to talk about it, but it was front page of the Times the other day before Christmas, because here's how you get capitalists to get engaged with climate change: figure out a way to make money about it. And so since 2016 or 17 or something like that, investors have poured in $5 billion of the money that they've made in software and digital stuff. They've put it in to try to find a way, a solution to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. In other words, all the pollutants that all the industrialists put into the air, the big gold rush is to who's going to make money taking the carbon dioxide out. And they can do it, but it's too expensive. But that's the solution to climate change. When the people who are polluting can figure out the way they can depollute and make more money depolluting, then they'll encourage the polluters. So far, right now, the polluters are winning because they're polluting faster, and it's too expensive and it's not profitable to pull out the CO2. So that's where we're at. But the technology is there. It's just in its infant. It's like AOL versus, Gmail. You'd say, oh, well, if it was at a Gmail stage, we could do everything with email. But no, it's at the AOL stage. But that's the hope, all right? I mean, that if you've never paid attention to climate change, except for the fact, oh, it's cold outside now. Oh, now it's warm. Oh, now it's cold outside. This is sort of a development at the end of the year that is interesting because it speaks the capitalist language. Hey, you can keep polluting if we can find a way to negate your pollution with a technology that makes more money than polluting. But then it begs the question, why don't you just stop polluting? Just stop polluting. It's like the person who wants to keep eating meat so they get heart attacks and diabetes, but they say, I can keep eating this because they're working on, pig hearts and pig lungs, and they'll insert it in me and I'll live forever. Oh, that's great, but I haven't perfected it yet, and you could just stop eating meat. You could just stop. And in fact, if you want to be totally climate conscious, just stop eating meat. That's the easiest thing you can do. If there's one thing you can do that will make an impact, I mean, maybe you were bad in 2024, but make sure in 2025, that's the one thing you could do. Just stop eating meat. Or maybe eat meat every 10th meal, 5th meal, something like that. Go ahead, be a flexitarian if you must, and just gradually become a good person. It's not perfect. It's not the absolute best way, but it can work. And by not eating meat, you're doing the best thing you can possibly do for the environment. Anyway, just helpful hints from Heloise, right? I mean, I'm just trying to help, right? Just trying to help. So that I discovered in the paper a couple days ago, and it takes me a while. Some other things in the paper a couple days ago. The paper, I call it the New York Times, the paper. Does everyone read the paper? Well, now that the Post has gone off the deep end and Jeff Bezos is sleeping with, all right, he's not sleeping with Trump, but he's like doing the Trump dance. They're doing the Trump dance again. I think you got to like the Times a little better. But story in the Times, a lot of interesting stories about, it was an op-ed from an executive who said, yeah, I was writing communications copy, and it's true, insurance companies, they don't care about the patients. They don't care about, the people who are covered. Of course not. They care about profits. That's what I said. But what he said was, and this is really to the point, in a capitalist society, the only thing that's important is shareholder value. I worked for a brief time with a tech company, and that was all that was emblazoned in our heads. What can we do to improve shareholder value? And of course, since you had stock options, that was a way to motivate people. Yeah, shareholder value. Yeah, we're in that too. And most people aren't, unless they're lucky, employee-owned kind of things. But that's the problem with health insurance. Health insurance, it's not about people who are sick getting healthy. It's about shareholder value. And they don't care if you don't get the care because you're too expensive to make well. That's why people don't like health insurance. That's why we need universal, or we need some kind of Medicare for all type of plan, because health insurance exposes the inhumanity of insurance. It does. It does. All right. And so that's what happens when you read through old papers. You get through that. So the big thing in the news now is that there's this they're calling it a civil war among MAGA types. And let's bring up our good friend, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, Professor Emeritus, San Francisco State University, Daniel Phil Gonzalez. Hi, Dan.
Hi. Good afternoon. Good to see you. It must be Friday.
Yeah, I love bringing you in on Friday. We come in and we sweep up. I hope you had a great holiday.
Too much of a holiday. Ate too much. Gained back weight. Got to work out harder. Okay, I hope
Why
yours was
is that?
enjoyable.
Why
You guys
is that?
have good time at home.
Yeah, yeah. We took in strays. We all the trans people between here came to the house, and we had dinner, and then we had and those who were inclined had that gave us a little impromptu drag show. So it was fun. It was fun. No, it was fun because it
Uh,
was the spirit. It was the spirit of the holidays, right? No room at the inn. Oh,
yeah,
don't say that. Come on, there's plenty of room here, especially if you like
yeah.
vegan fettuccine. If you like
We had
Alfredo
right
vegan
on.
style,
Right on.
and a lot of
There
people.
were some good. We had some good vegan dishes, but the majority of people were meat eaters, and the first thing to go was crabs, and we brought a multitude of crabs from San Francisco. Uh,
Crabs. I mean, when you need the mercury, it's good.
yeah, crab is one of the best ways to go. This is true. This is
If you
true.
need the mercury, and then you put a little vinegar and garlic, and that sort of
A
cuts the
little.
mercury, make it
Yeah,
taste
it'll
metallic.
exactly. And you guessed it. One of our expert sauciers
Yeah. Oh
made a
yeah.
garlic dip, and it was perfect. It was perfect. Anyway, H1Bs also
H1Bs.
another kind of import. I mean, the crabs were imported from Oregon.
Yeah, people
So
they don't know how to say it right. It's H1B visa.
B, it is B.
H1B visa. And
Yeah, B visa. They
yeah,
probably confuse visa with the V, but anyway.
some people say HB1 or
Oh
HV1.
yeah, there is such a thing as HB1, but I think it has to do with hemoglobin.
Yeah, HB1 actually is a disease that people get.
So,
But
so
H1B,
once
yeah,
again, there is an illogical but logical, right? It's
yeah,
illogical in the sense that it really is not factual, but at the
yeah.
same time, there's a logic to their lack of factuality.
So what is going on here? Because it all starts, of course, with communication. Elon Musk on X. He's on X and he starts
Yeah,
talking.
no, I can simplify it for you.
Yeah.
It's about race.
Oh,
I'll
well,
simplify
yeah.
it for you.
Oh,
It's
well,
about
wait a
race.
minute. You say it's about race, but no, no. Let's see what Elon Musk posted.
Oh, come on.
No, well,
Look,
I
if he says something, it's about race.
no, no,
How
no.
foolish can you be to ignore that?
All right. This is what he said. He said this was his post the other day, and I show it to people in case Elon Musk says maybe this is a helpful clarification. I am referring to bringing in via legal immigration the top 0.1% of engineering talent as being essential for America to keep winning. See? And then let's just finish off the entire post and then we'll comment. This is like bringing in the Jokic's and the Wembys of the world, bringing in the
Oh
sports
man.
analogy because people understand that. Bringing in the Jokic's and the Wembys of the world to help your whole team, which is mostly Americans. We're a team, right? See, and now he's going to the team thing because he's got to create teamwork among that coalition. This helps our whole team win the NBA. Thinking of America as a pro sports team, as if Obama never did that, as if Joe Biden never did that. Thinking of America as a pro sports team that has been winning for a long time and wants to keep winning is the right mental construct.
This from a guy who can't shoot threes. Have you ever
Yeah,
seen him shoot threes?
but who can
I've seen President Obama shoot threes.
yeah, but who can mess with the richest man in the world saying that? All right, so
Who can
Dan,
mess with the richest man in the world saying anything?
yeah,
That's the problem. That's
yeah,
exactly the problem.
yeah,
Okay, so one problem is money, and the
yeah,
other problem is race.
yeah.
That's what the problem is.
All right,
He
now how do
he
you say
wants
race? How
he
do you
want
say
okay. How many people who the greatest number of people who came in from via H1Bs?
I
Asian,
would say in Indian.
Asians. Yeah,
Yeah,
no kidding.
but
Okay.
mostly Indian, right?
Yes, I was
Yeah,
going to say that next. Which ethnicity,
yeah,
or if you want to go back to their national origin,
yeah,
which nationality has come in over the past 40 years,
yeah,
right? When H1Bs were a little more readily available, they lotterized them, right?
yeah,
During the Obama administration, they turned H1Bs into a lottery
yeah.
object.
And a lot of these H1Bs weren't necessarily all techies, because once you got an H1B, it became like a competition to get, for your industry. So a lot of people were nurses who were H1Bs.
They needed, well, we need medical personnel, but
Right.
see, in general terms, it's the same issue, because what we're short on in American society, techies are also products of science, of
Yep.
STEM, of STEM
STEM.
study,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so nurses, doctors, pharmacists, all medical related professionals, right, are also science, from
Yeah.
science. Okay. So you got computer technology, science oriented, right?
Yeah.
Mathematically oriented. Okay. And then you have medical field, and we're short on both of those. And so 30 years ago, the pattern began, and the pattern, almost 40 years ago, the pattern began.
To
And
outsource, and this is at the core of why MAGA folks. I don't want to sound like a MAGA person, but look, what's her name? Coulter, Liz Coulter, right?
oh no, Anne.
And excuse me, Ann Coulter. She wants to, she says, hey, H1Bs are essentially indentured servants, and it should be banned. And I actually kind of side with her for a change. And I think for all the
Well,
MAGA
yeah,
folks,
it's true. That's kind of correct, but you're leaving out her second point. Her second point is there's too many Indians in Silicon Valley.
oh yeah, well that's the racist point.
Okay, but that's not about race, huh?
No, that's
Okay.
the racist point.
Oh,
That's the
well, then
racist
what
point. But the first part,
about Sriram
yeah,
Krishnan? What about Sriram Krishnan?
yeah, he's
What about the Republican reaction to the appointment of Sriram
oh, that's
Krishnan?
racist. That's racist. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
okay,
the guy.
okay.
Now his position is to be what he's the advisor.
Yeah. Let me. I had
Yeah,
something up
what
on
is
him.
creations do?
Appointed a senior AI advisor. So
Oh,
artificial
AI.
intelligence.
Oh, we're not even talking about human beings. We're just talking about AI. We can't. They have no race. They have no race. It's good. It's good that an Asian's doing it.
Okay.
It's because they're
You can't
racist.
be racist when you talk about AI. It's not real.
No, no,
AI has no race.
just
AI
digit.
has,
It's just
yeah,
digit
AI
software.
has no race. Unfortunately, Sriram has a race,
Yeah. Oh,
and
so,
he
oh,
is Indian.
he's a human
And
being.
Ann Coulter doesn't like that.
Yeah. Well,
It's probably a Curry
you
thing.
might
It's probably a Curry
you might have
thing.
a point. You might have a point.
I mean, people heat up the curry in the freaking local microwave, and it drives some
You
people
got to get
crazy.
out the
They
Christmas
don't want to.
tree
Sure,
deodorizers.
it's
Yeah.
not working for
All
them.
right. So
It's
Dan,
not working for them.
this is causing this civil war. I mean, when you have the Ann Coulters and you have, you know,
That's a whole nother thing. They love, don't you think the media loves to pick up on the term civil war, because the
mm,
imagery of the actual civil war of the
mm,
19th century, the bloodiest thing ever to happen internally to the United States of America, with more war loss, right, in terms
mm.
of lives, right, than both the first and second World War combined in terms of American loss
Yeah,
of life, right? Civil War. So when they say Civil War, those images come immediately to mind. Thank
yeah.
you, Ken Burns. But it's really ugly. And so here they are saying it's an internal civil war for the Republicans. I
Yes,
like it.
I think
I
this
like the fact that
this
they have a
is the
civil.
gift of the MAGA, and
Thank
we
you.
we we are going to use it.
Is that a play
Yeah,
on the Magi?
yeah.
Oh,
That's
that was
intended to
yeah.
be,
Okay,
the
I
gift
like
of the
it.
MAGA.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
this
it.
is
Okay, it's
intended
good.
to disrupt
Okay.
the ill-formed coalition of,
Right on.
immigration is fine if it helps us, but if it doesn't help us, and I don't mean all of us, I mean
But
just
see,
me,
yeah,
Elon
yeah.
Musk.
Immigration is fine as long as we get people that we can
Yeah,
make money from. Okay, that's the whole thing. We can bring in these people and make money from. But what's the essential problem is we haven't developed that pool of talent inside the United States. We do not have a domestic pool of technically talented people that we can depend on. Therefore, we have to import people. Well, but we've been importing people, and the Indians are the best
Yeah.
example of this for the past 45
Yeah.
freaking
Well,
years. So they've had for almost 50 years to develop the ability to educate our own domestic
yeah.
people, right? Our
Yeah.
own children to be able to do tech work. And they haven't done that. So instead, they have been importing people for the last nearly 50 years. And this includes Filipinos. Why are there so many Filipino nurses? How many times have we talked about
Yeah.
that on this
Well, I mean,
program?
there's a shortage. There's always been a shortage of nurses, and as far as I've been alive, there's been a shortage of nurses.
I was speaking to a couple of my wife's
Yeah.
nephew's daughters. I mean, we're in grandparent position here, and another one is going to
Yeah.
Fullerton for her last 2 years
Yeah.
in nursing program. So there it
Yeah.
is. There's another one. We've already got one that's working as a nurse in
Yeah. I mean,
Sacramento.
really, the idea of nursing shortages, we have. It seems like the United States has done more to keep the nursing shortage at a level base. They've kept it so that there will always be a perpetual nursing shortage.
A slight
Yeah.
shortage.
I mean, because
Yeah, yeah.
to your point, why aren't we developing our own? And this is the MAGA point. Why do we have to import all these, these people of color from Asia primarily? Why can't we just develop? Because these are not jobs that no one wants. These are jobs that people want here.
Because they make money. They pay relatively well, compared to
Right,
other
but
kinds of
they
jobs.
must pay the H1Bs less than they
Less.
would
They
people
do.
who were developed here, and
And
that
they
is
do.
totally the reason why they'd rather
Well,
have
and
the
why
H1B,
why are they able to pay the H1B people less?
because the H1B people are desperate to get out of their situation and come to America, so they
Okay,
can.
but after they've worked for a year or 2 years, and they've realized what their value is,
Oh,
and how
then,
much profit is being taken.
then they get cut. Then they get cut
Okay,
and sent back.
okay, so that's the reason. The
Yeah,
reason is they want to keep on the job,
yeah,
okay? Because they're completely. That's why you agree with Ann Coulter. She's
yeah.
saying it is a form
Of
of
indentured
indentured
servitude.
servitude
It is.
because they hold the job over the heads of the H1Bs. If they're out of a job, they go back home.
I know firsthand of people who work at Tesla who will tell me. I say, well, everyone's doing well at Tesla, because Tesla's going out to these far-flung places because they don't want to, have plants in the Silicon Valley or in the San Francisco Bay Area. So they're in all these other places. And he says, yeah, it's good. They get, people get paid, but there's a lot of H1Bs and they kind of, are dominant, and for a while, and then they get sent back. They get exploited. He didn't use the term exploited, this person I talked to, but those are the people they're hiring, and it keeps costs low.
Well, what H1Bs can do, okay, is become undocumented.
Well, yeah, and then they work for Elon Musk's rifle or whatever that company is.
No, they trade they change skills and they go to work for Republicans.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
office, Congress people and judges. Remember all of those Congress
Oh,
people
yeah.
and judges that were anti-immigrant, and they were, and then they got caught having gardeners and
Well,
cooks and
well, what?
nannies that
Oh,
were all
yeah. Well,
undocumented.
what's going to happen now to the Republicans?
No
Because
hypocrisy there.
but this is a real fissure, as they say, or as my Filipinos would say, this is a real fissure. Fissure.
Okay.
It's a fissure.
Yeah. Well, both are clearly correct.
Yeah, it's a clear fissure. So what are we
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to
If you
do?
say it's well, when they say pissure, and you understand it as people are urinating,
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
That's fine.
But it's a crack. It is a crack.
People are getting pissed off. That's
Yeah, this is a crack in the MAGA. Right. So what are we going to do with this
No,
crack?
I think it's more than a crack. I think it's a schism.
A schism, a schism, a
Schism.
schism, a
I
schism.
like that. I like
Yeah,
schism.
schism. You
It's
got
a
to say the
big one,
case.
like the Grand Canyon. It's a big one.
So this is, like I said, it's the gift of the MAGA. The Democrats are going to run with it, and are they going to be able to reform
Nah,
immigration with this?
nah. They'll. It's a great criticism, but it takes a majority of people in both houses
Yeah.
to actually get something done. Now, I think the Senate might be willing to play, but I don't think the House is going to play.
So you don't think this is an issue that could be like the burr in the saddle?
No, I think there's a
the
schism. I think the
schism.
schism is enough so
Yeah.
that they're going to be short on Republicans,
Yeah.
and the Democrats are starting to say we ain't going to bail them out.
No.
They're surely not going to bail Johnson out, although I think Johnson will be able to get back in. That's kind of a subordinate issue, but
Yeah.
there's even an internal fight, right? An internal conflict over whether or not Johnson should stay on his job.
Yeah. Or so I guess the question is, does the MAGA coalition survive this? Because immigration's
Oh
an
yeah, yeah. They'll be constantly in conflict,
yeah.
but when it comes down to it, they're going to support Mr. Trump. They're going to support whatever he says. My point is, how much does Trump get ahead of people seeing him as a puppet? And you're the guy who's noticed that Musk was behaving as though he was the puppet master.
The puppet master.
And he had to come out, and he hasn't denied it either.
Yeah. No,
The guy that's denied it is Trump. Trump has said no. He's not a shadow president, or that's not true.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why does everybody think he's smarter than you then?
Yeah. Well, if the key is not IQ points, well, he'd probably lose there too. But your bank account.
The other measurement, right, is fortunately for Mr. Trump not below the belt.
Yeah.
The other measurement is who got the billions.
Right, and that's not Trump.
And you got a real guy, and you got a fake guy. Okay, and even if he says no, I'm real.
Yeah.
And he has not got $500 billion, $750 billion. The guy's approaching $1 trillion, thanks for the most part to U.S. government contracts.
He's on the biggest corporate welfare that there is. And we should be getting money back from Musk.
And he gets to make policy. He gets to say where we cut back and do not cut back, where we spend money and do not spend money, what kind of programs we should have. He gets to do that. What? And nobody thinks this is a conflict of interest. Nobody's thinking that, right? No.
This is a conflict of interest.
See, this stuff is really, really obvious to lawyers and accountants and politicians. It's really obvious, right? In California, taking even small amounts of money, as long as it qualified as felony, right? So it had to be like over $5,000, that kind of thing, right? There had to be a minimal limit, okay? And you were guilty of a conflict of interest because you accepted money that you shouldn't have, and you held office of some sort, elected or appointed. That's a felony.
Yeah.
Okay? That was done in the 80s in California. Okay. Look, right now, what they're doing is committing felonies. Okay.
Yeah. It's all just relative ethics, right? I mean,
but this is not ethics. This is
criminality. This is criminality.
Criminal. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, all right. So we have criminality with the presidency. We have what Trump has done. We have what Thomas has done in the court. Alito. We have all. We have.
He's only president-elect, so it's okay if he sells Bibles, sneakers and watches.
How about, look.
Cards and coins, right?
During his presidency, he was selling hotel rooms, down the bottom from his president. And he
said, I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I am, my sons are the people who are running those businesses. I have nothing to do with it. You know.
And he just kept getting the money, getting the
Mm.
money. So this is America, and yet, you know, we're not the first ones to talk about this. I mean, it would be nice if, oh, Dan and Emil have reported this breaking news, con- conflict of interest. You know, we're not the first. People know about it, and
Well, we were among the first to say about the possibilities, what the possibilities or probabilities were. We were among the first.
well, yeah,
We were the first to call him a liar.
yeah. Back then,
Media didn't want to call him a liar. Well, that's not
true.
true.
That,
That that's not true. What
yeah,
he said was not true. Call him a liar, damn it. It took him
yeah,
like what, almost the better part of 2 years to finally call him a liar.
at least, yeah. And then they said, well, we have 3,000 instances of.
That's right. They
Was it
started
more than
counting them.
3,000? I think it was
That's right. It was
tens of thousands.
Politico. Yeah, Politico started counting.
Yeah, no, Washington Post. The Washington Post.
Oh, yeah,
fact
Wapo.
checkers. Yeah. So I mean, the
Well,
thing is,
Politico's a big time fact checker.
yeah, Politico too. But I think the original fact checkers before they, started it at Politico. Politico was started by a bunch of Washington Post guys,
That's true.
and they left and they started Axios. Anyway, so the thing is, the mainstream media has not. I mean, they have tried to be nice to Trump for the most, and Trump thinks that they're just evil, right? Everyone thinks the mainstream media has not been nice, but the mainstream media for the most part has been fair, but it hasn't stopped people from not trusting anybody. And this whole thing
Yeah.
is really Trump's fault. Trump
So yeah,
has poisoned.
so they don't trust mainstream media. So they do trust Fox and Newsmax and OAN and all of them. Okay, but did you see that survey that came out? I think it was a couple of weeks ago now. The survey was about
Trust in America.
Who watches any kind of political news?
Oh, nobody likes it.
And well, they did a plus and minus thing. People who did say that they watched political news were something like 8% plus, or 8 points plus on Harris and Waltz.
Mhm.
And then people who watched no political news were 13 points up for Trump.
Yeah.
I think it was only 4 points for Harris and Waltz.
I saw something similar that said that people.
So the uninformed people are the Trump voters. That's the thing right there.
Yeah, I saw another poll that said that people did not want to hear celebrities weighing in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they didn't want to hear their workplace weighing in, and they barely wanted to hear anything about politics.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
It's like monkey see, monkey do, or see, hear no evil, see no evil.
Well, the question that arises is, what are they basing their opinions and their decision on? Right?
If I like him,
are they flipping coins?
No, if I like him, do I like him? Did he wear his bronze?
What have they seen or experienced in their lives that make them like him? Okay.
Well,
if they're not watching political news.
Cost of eggs is the barometer. If the cost of eggs is up,
don't forget gasoline.
And gasoline, that's the barometer. That's the political barometer for everyone. It's really silly because it's.
Biden and Harris should have done something about bird flu. That's what it comes down to. They were in the driver's seat. They should have done something about bird flu. Look at the ridiculous COVID mask requirements. Look at those. Okay, only 1 million people died.
And that's good. I mean, that's good.
And they at least had the freedom to make the choice to wear a mask or not wear a mask.
Yeah. The Democrats, they'll be going over what the Democrats did wrong for at least the next 2 to 4 years.
It saddens me, but you're probably right that it would take them that long. It shows you that stupidity is not liberal.
Yeah, it's not. Well, they just got taken by surprise. They didn't know. They didn't know how to communicate with people. And when
a lot of that was Joe Biden's lead, though. I mean, I hate to sound mean on the guy. But he kept on saying, "Look at the economy."
Yeah,
and You
That's
know,
all
they
he
weren't
had.
listening to what was happening to people on the ground. That's real
Yeah.
simple.
Well, it's all he had. But how about this? How about if we had the Joe Biden of 2016? See, that's the problem. He was just old. It boils down to his age and his perceptions were all wrong, and the people advising him were just wrong. And these were pretty experienced people, but they just read the American public wrong. And maybe it was the American public is different in a Trump era. No matter who they vote for, it's a Trump era, and they're different. And maybe what we'll find is,
You know what, Emil?
yeah,
They were worried about keeping their job, just like everybody in Congress, regardless of whether it's the lower house or the upper house. The people who were the campaign advisors, campaign leaders, the people who were the tacticians and strategists were more worried about keeping their job. And so what are they caught between? They're caught between the reality of society and the conditions of the society, right?
yeah,
And the desire by the Biden campaign leaders, particularly Joe Biden himself, right, to
yeah,
push certain issues, certain successes. So look at the success of NATO. Look at our defense of Ukraine, right?
yeah. Oh,
Look at how the commitment of all the European countries and our associates and members of NATO in the Americas. Nobody has built a stronger coalition ever since the Second World War,
a
and it's all
strong
true.
America, a
It's all
strong
true.
America.
Yeah,
This is a strong
and a much
America,
better respected America than
a
under Trump.
strong Biden. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
under
all
and
strong.
much more respected than under Trump is really obvious, right? But
Yeah.
that's
So,
not what the majority of Trump voters believe.
well, and it's not even what the majority of Americans care about. I mean, it would be nice to think
No, I
that
agree.
the more majority of Americans care about, yeah, we're number one. We're out there helping Ukraine. But how long did people wearing Ukraine flags on their lapels? How long did that last? Not very long.
I think almost a year. But then when
not
it looked like it
hardly.
was going to last, when it lasted beyond a year, once it got to that annual level,
Yeah.
okay, and the Russians were still being aggressive, even though they had by that time sacrificed what 40,000 lives,
Yeah.
you know.
And it was a nice color flag, baby blue. Could go with accessorize all your outfit.
People had the crossed flags, right, with the American flag and
Yeah.
the Ukrainian flag and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
But when that did take, I knew that there was going to be a problem, and so yeah, America doesn't care. America doesn't care about how strong we are. Doesn't care about NATO,
Well,
and
they
we
do
should.
care about how strong we are, but they don't understand. They don't see strength that way. They just
Yeah.
see strength as an internal commodity. I mean,
Yeah.
so, if they believe that Trump is an excellent example of masculine strength and honor and integrity, you got a problem.
I know.
You got a problem. So how can we expect people who think that way, right? Even if they don't like Trump, there's the people who voted for him, they don't like him.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah.
why are they voting for him?
Yeah, they say I don't have to like him, but I think he can help us. I think he can help us because
He's a businessman. That's one of the things that they say.
Yeah.
The guy's a failed businessman,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
yeah. If he had all the money that his father left him, and he just put it in an index fund, he'd have a heck of a lot more than the
That's
$6
right.
billion
That's
he
true.
has.
That's true.
He'd have more than
Big
he's
time loser. You were talking about the fact that he was they were making money off of the hotel, right? The
yeah,
converted
yeah,
federal building, and they were making money off of that. And they had to give that up.
yeah,
I mean, pretty soon he's going to be down to if a lot more of the lawsuits, right, especially the civil lawsuits against him, went forward, right, he would be down to just his freaking golf courses, right?
yeah. And he wouldn't have to worry about playing slow or playing fast because he'd be the only one playing on the course. Yeah. So Dan, how does MAGA is going to come through with this MAGA grant conflict, but it's part of the, hey, here we are, we're hypocritical, we're we're contradictory. We're MAGA. We don't know what we're doing. We're for immigrants when they help us. We're not for immigrants when they're criminals. We're for legal immigration. We're for immigrants who help us win. And so when I know how do they just live with that contradiction? Is that it?
Well, it's not about it's not just about them. It's about whether or not critics of that hypocrisy are willing to stand together and work against it.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
because
that's a cue for the Democrats, right? The
it's a
Democrats.
cue. It's a cue for anybody who's got common sense and wants a society that actually lives up to its best principles. That's that's it. It's not just a cue for the Democrats. The Democrats better follow up on it,
Yeah.
and they're organized in a way that let's say could be okay a contribution to that effort. But I'm not counting on the Democrats as a Democratic Party. Okay,
Yeah. I didn't even
both
know what the
parties have lost a lot of membership, and right now the biggest voter group is not independent, but they're nonpartisan. They don't belong to either party.
Yeah, it's funny because the Republicans are all splintered. When you're attacking Liz Cheney, that's a bad look for Republicans. And the Democrats, I don't know what Democrats are all about anymore. I guess
That's because
Kamala
they don't
Harris,
know what
should
they're
she
about.
run again? She I mean, people
they're
think,
they're they're about this broad concept of social justice, and they understand that quest towards a more equal society, right, has certain elements. And so there are some Democrats that want to emphasize work in the DEI aspect, right? The fairness of hiring, fairness of representation in schools, particularly at the graduate level, because that means these are people that are going to get into the professions, which is where the big money is,
no,
right, so to speak. And and that's what they do. Others are more union oriented, right, and so they want to deal with organized labor. Others are oriented towards dealing with the working class. The thing that really embarrasses me about Democrats over the last 40 years is, with the exception of people like Martin Luther King and local pastors and some
Mhm.
pastors with a national reputation, like Dr. King and Jesse Jackson and all that.
No.
Um, white people don't talk about the poor. They talk about the homeless, and they talk about the homeless as a problem.
Yeah,
Okay,
they don't.
they
They
don't
don't
want
talk
to
about
talk about the poor and the poverty. Okay,
Yeah,
they don't do that. The last time Democrats did that in
68,
concert, pardon me.
68.
Yeah, well, a little bit into the 70s,
Yeah,
a
I mean,
little bit
because
into the 70s, but
I
but
mean,
that's when homelessness started to become epidemic.
yeah, and really in the '60s, homelessness was more romanticized as they were the hobos, right?
Right.
The
Well,
it,
yeah.
it was it was not seen as a like this mass urban problem. That only became a mass urban problem '70s, '80s, '90s, and now there's more homeless than ever. New AP study has come out. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and all as the inequalities have been exacerbated between the working class and the CEOs, right? I mean, that's the thing that
No,
is,
everybody, including the upper middle class, have been displaced downward.
yeah,
Everybody, including the upper middle class, have been displaced downward. Okay, and then obviously the people that constitute a half of a percent, right, of the population, right,
yeah,
are that's where the concentration of profit has gone.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so it's really exacerbated at that level. But you have to also see the fact that from the upper middle class downward, right, there's been a compression of all of those classes, okay,
yeah,
downward. And that's where, I mean, I was shocked when I saw what houses in I call it Mount Davidson Manor, but there's an area adjacent to St. Francis Woods, which is
Right.
one of the most expensive residential areas in San Francisco.
Right.
And
You're talking about like up on that hill, like around Yerba Buena, around there.
it's yeah, well, that's the Mount Davidson Manor and also the Westwood Park and Westwood
Right.
Highlands side. The other side of that hill is where St. Francis Woods is, and
Right.
that's between Portola, Junipero Serra, right,
Dan
and
is talking
Oyster
San
Avenue, right
Francisco
in
real
there.
estate now. Dan
Okay,
is talking San
there is
Francisco.
an adjacent neighborhood, okay,
Yeah.
near Commodore Sloat School,
Yes. Yes.
and the lots are a little smaller, the houses are a little smaller.
Right
Four
there by.
bedroom, 2.5 baths, $4 million.
Wow. This
It's
is
not
just.
even it's not even in St. Francis Wood.
Yeah. This
Okay.
is right by Aptus Junior High School.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Very close by.
And it's and those small and they were really kind of like what kind of home, they were like modest, homes. They
Yeah,
were they
well,
weren't they weren't the,
they were even upper middle class when they were built, but
yeah,
upper middle class, meant people who had professional jobs,
right.
right? It was people in the professions,
And
and so
that's a nice area. Aptus Junior
yeah,
High
it is
School.
a nice area. The
And
houses are really really nice. They're just not as big and then sometimes ostentatious as the houses in St. Francis Wood. In
yeah,
St. Francis Wood, you could actually call some of those houses mansions because they're of that size and that style.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, but
But
this is a neighborhood adjacent to them,
so
and they're
yeah,
asking $4 million for that house.
location. I mean, look,
Oh man, I
but
mean it's yeah.
so look, I San Francisco real estate, it's like
It's bad. It's
it's
really bad. It's good. It's we 20 years ago we were talking about how the working class is getting wiped out of San Francisco.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, and and so uh, that the gentrification of the Mission District was going to push a lot of working class families, right?
yeah,
Particularly Latinos and Mexican Americans, right? The Latinos and Chicanos out of the city, which
yeah,
it did. We
yeah.
also said that gentrification was going to spread to the southern areas and the eastern areas of San Francisco, which was going to push African Americans out of the city, and it
Bayview
did.
Hunters Point. Bayview Hunters Point. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Bayview Hunters Point. It's expensive there now.
Well,
It's
you got to,
hard.
when Asians started moving in to the Visitation Valley area adjacent to Bayshore
Yeah,
Freeway, right?
yeah.
That pushed a lot of lower middle class, right, people out, and there was a change in generations, right? The World War II generation that benefited from the GI Bill, etc., they were able to move into that area once the racial restrictions were lifted. Right, there used to be racial restrictions all over the place. Right,
Yeah.
racial covenants keeping people out of neighborhoods, and that was particularly obvious in terms of the west side of San Francisco. You could run a line directly down to Daly City and use Divisadero as your starting point, right, in the marina, and run it straight down south, and everything to the west of that was under racial covenant in absolute terms.
So
It's
that's why I never
quantity.
lived there. That's funny. I thought it's just my dad didn't we couldn't afford the rent there. But actually we it's funny. Like I said, I get upset when I talk about San Francisco real estate because I I just did not listen or adhere to the number one law of real estate, which, location, location, location.
That's right.
And the idea that they're not making more of San Francisco, 7 by 7. And there I had a little piece of San Francisco, and I traded in for the suburbs. I went to the suburbs.
Well, it was more affordable. You got a bigger piece of the rock. There's more land if you got kids. There's more space to play. All that kind of stuff. And the problem for me, and the reason we didn't move was because I was talking to people who were in urban studies,
Mm.
and we were talking about freeways,
Mm.
and the building of freeways and all that. And they said, well, they're going to build these, super freeways, super highways. We're getting federal money, and they're going to go 8 and 10 lanes wide, right, in
Yeah.
some areas, which will serve the suburbs. And I said, yeah, and so that will aid the continuing development of more suburban tracts. Okay, and so that's good if these towns want to develop a tax base. Okay,
Yeah.
you got more people moving in. I said, but will that traffic be managed
Yeah.
by the highways?
I can't. I'd say probably no. It was bad when I was there, and
Yeah,
it's probably worse now. I will say this: the reason why we moved, though, I mean, the house was okay. We would have stayed. We had a house in the Noe Valley. We would have stayed there. But the bad thing that drove us out was when we had kids was the education.
that's right. Schools.
The schools were bad, and so we went to a place that had better schools. And now I regret that because I think they probably would have had a better education mixing it up the way I mix it up, going to the San Francisco public schools. I want to put in a plug for the San Francisco public schools because it seems like no one is these days.
It,
But
it was going through a lot of changes about the time that we started having kids,
yeah,
and there remember and the reason that happened was because of the Chinese American Rebellion.
yeah. I mean, when they sued.
No, they just left. They left the school
Oh,
district and started private
oh,
schools.
that, yeah, yeah. Well, that's why they had to start Chinese immersion classes.
Well, that was one of the ways they bought them back,
Yeah,
but the immersion programs and also the so-called magnet school concept, right?
yeah.
And
And that
what
was,
cracked me up was that the school district said, okay, what we're going to call them, is magnet schools that specialize, right, in subject matter that makes them college ready, right? So that they're tracking everybody, and by the time they get into high school, we'll have these magnet programs, and they'll be better teaching and better teachers, right?
yeah,
They're
but
capable of teaching the subject matter, even in the schools that have been unfortunately underfunded all these years, right? But
yeah,
then what happens? Proposition 13, right?
yeah.
Which
Cutting back on the funds to the
78,
schools.
1978, which was perfect timing if you wanted to destroy the school systems,
Look, well, and now we have Trump, and he's destroying public schools.
but
Well,
only at the federal level. So we're losing federal money.
yeah, and but people are already saying, look, forget about public schools. Let's consider private schools, and who can afford private schools? But people who can afford the real estate, and in San Francisco, not I. I mean, if I were still there, I don't know where I'd live if I was starting out now, unless I was working for a tech company or unless I was doing that sort of thing. But I don't know. I don't know, Dan. It's just if
Well,
I people
yeah. For the
people
last for
now.
the last 30 years, one of the questions that I ask in the first week of class, in my class on politics and law, where we have to cover the Constitution, I said, where are you going to live? Let's assume that you get out of here. You get your nice BA, right,
Mm.
or BS, and you get a high five-figure or even six-figure income. Okay, where are you going to live? And I started asking that question 30 years ago
Yeah,
because the students had no idea what the cost was, to live in San Francisco at that time.
yeah,
Every once in a while, I would get a student whose family was involved in real estate, or who had a family member or close friend that was an attorney, right, or an accountant. So those three: real estate, lawyers, accountants. Okay. And every once in a while, a student would say, well, right now with the interest rate this way, and the average cost of a house at this rate, and at those years, we were only talking about $200,000 for a
yeah,
house.
yeah. And
You know,
now you talk to someone who's a student of yours in 2025 or soon to be 2025. They're probably living on a bus outside of San Francisco State.
well, you
I mean,
know,
because the housing is terrible. You know, in terms
what
of
has happened? What has happened is we, for a long time, were recruiting heavily from Southern California because they had a large population and not enough college seats, not enough available seats or colleges, in Southern California. So SF State recruited heavily from Southern California, and it worked. Okay, just because SF is an interesting place when you compare it to LA, right? LA's got its thing going, and it's got a certain image and certain cultural things.
yeah,
But San Francisco has a lot more charm and romance and everything else. Okay. What happened was, beginning about 20, 25 years ago, the cost of living in San Francisco started to go up.
yeah.
Okay.
So people ended up, like I said, students now. There are students still living on buses, or in
If,
RVs
if the
around Lake Merced.
those are faculty members sometimes.
Oh yeah,
We're
I can.
talking about some faculty members, but they've been relieved of that because now we've cut back almost entirely on lecturers
Oh
because
yeah,
of the budget cutbacks.
thanks, Dan. That was,
SF State is way down in terms
yeah,
of enrollment, and it's still a numbers game. It always has been a numbers game. Okay,
yeah,
just like the school district in San Francisco, the school district in Oakland. When you have a reduction in population, you get an immediate reduction in funding, and they start closing schools. That's what's happened in Oakland twice, two different cycles, right? That
yeah,
has happened,
and
and in San Francisco, it's happening again now.
yeah. All
They
right, so
they, they avoided a merger for this year.
let's get back on track with where we are with.
H1Bs.
Well, where we are. I mean, that's one of the major things that could slow down, this civil war within MAGAville. But MAGA people are going to have to adjust. 2025 is the adjustment. What is there going to be a? I know if you were not voting for Trump,
You
I mean,
mean,
you
yeah.
look around and who's your guidance? Who do you look to? I mean,
I,
this is
I, I think it's going to be just like the way they voted for Trump, in this past election. You mentioned it earlier. It's about the price of eggs and gasoline and all of the commodities going up in price. All of that was affected by COVID, right? Remember the supply chain issue, okay?
yeah,
that was caused by COVID very directly, very directly, okay? And then there was the recovery period, okay? And then all of a sudden we start having all of the other issues having to do with the war in Ukraine. Remember Russia cutting back on petroleum supplies to Europe.
yeah,
Okay, they blew up one of the gas lines along with a communication line, right?
yeah.
And everybody said, "Well, it wasn't. We don't know who did it." Yeah, well, who's got the technology to be able to do that, and who's got the motivation to be able to do that, right? Okay, okay. So wait a minute. It could have been the Israelis, and they're doing it just as a false flag operation to make it look like it's the Russians. All that kind of stuff going on. We have China as the big time competitor, and then Trump saying we're going to put tariffs down. Okay, and people discounted entirely the effect that those tariffs had, right, on
Yeah.
increasing prices domestically. Okay,
Right.
okay,
So, I mean,
and
so
then they blame it on Biden, right? Because Biden did not reduce a lot of those tariffs. He continued many of those tariffs, right?
right, but we lived under Biden's policies, and the people didn't like it, and it's going to get worse because here come the
Well,
Trump tariffs.
they didn't like it because they believed that they were at fault.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, the one place where the Biden administration and the Democrats were at fault was when they had the bailouts, right? Because that was going to add to the national debt. All right. And of course, the Republicans always point at the national debt and they say, you're saddling your future, you're saddling your children and your grandchildren with this economic debacle, that's going to kill the capitalist way, right? It's going to reduce the credibility of American society in the world. Saying all of this stuff And they're the ones who are most responsible for increases in the national debt. They're the ones who are most responsible for that. All
All
you
right,
have to do is look at their freaking charts, right? You
so
know, and
there's a,
it'll show you.
all right,
You
there's a
know,
lot of contradictions, and
oh,
people are ill-informed, and they
when
vote.
did okay? When was they like to take credit for the Clinton era balancing of the budget? One of those rare moments where the country actually balanced the national budget, right? During the Clinton administration, and they take credit for it by saying what? It was a Gingrich. It was a Gingrich plan, right? And
Yeah.
it was Gingrich and the Republicans that forced the Democrats, even Bill Clinton, to subscribe to the policies that led to a balanced budget. That's largely true. It's largely true. Remember Clinton and workfare?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So all right, so where if you are voting, if you voted not for Trump, but for because it's essentially 50-50, right? 49% voted for Trump,
Sure,
48 point something
sure.
voted for Harris. Where do you look for
None.
for guidance? Do you just stand tall and say Trump is bad? Trump is. I mean, at some point, uh, who's offering the solution? Who's offering the antidote
Well,
to Trump?
there are very few people that I think in American voting society at this point are ideological. I think there's more people who are truly ideological on the left.
Right.
Okay. And
Correct.
and by when I say ideological, I mean they're studied in
It's a
political
well, maybe not
political
study.
values, political
Maybe not study.
principles.
Maybe not
They
study.
actually study. I mean, they're studied. They
Well,
actually read the stuff. They actually are conscious. They read freaking books,
but
right?
wait, it's really more a belief, and you can have a belief. I mean, if you're studied, if
It has,
if
yeah, but it
you've
has to
read
be an
Marx,
informed.
that's good. But
Okay,
it,
what I'm saying is on the left they have informed beliefs.
yeah,
Okay,
okay, yeah.
what do they got on the right?
We like his hair. We like his dance. We like the
They
charm.
like Mike Lee talking about our lost constitution, right? What all of the failures that have led to our moving away from the Constitution. And remember the Tea Party, right?
Yeah.
We want to get back to the Constitution. And then he asked him a simple question: "One, okay, what's your favorite amendment? Okay,
Ah,
what
trying to
amendment do
trick
you
me.
think protects your rights best? You know,
Trying to trick me with the
in
Bill of
terms of
Rights. Trying to
yeah,
trick me.
yeah." You could
Well, I
read
mean,
the preamble of the Constitution, they wouldn't know what to call it, right? But
you know,
yet
they
they're screaming, "We want to get back to the Constitution."
they're going to rewrite that thing, and they're going to rewrite the American part where
Well, okay, let's go there.
yeah,
One of the things that Trump says he's going to do is get rid of birthright citizenship.
yeah,
Well, that's guaranteed under the 14th Amendment.
right.
Okay, so
Based
in
on the
order to
case,
change that, you're going to have a constitutional amendment.
yeah.
Okay, you can't do that simply by saying no. That's not what the 14th Amendment means. With a decision at the Supreme Court, they could try it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why it's an Asian American, I call it the Asian American case, because it's the Wong Kim Ark is the name of the San Franciscan.
Yeah.
He's an Asian American who went in the 1890s to Hong Kong. He was born in America,
Yep.
and he was a citizen by birth.
Yep.
He went to Hong Kong for a vacation, tried to come back. They kept him
Yeah.
from
They said
re-entering.
they wouldn't
He
let him
went-
re-enter.
Yeah, he took his case to the Supreme Court, and he won. And that because of they said the basis of birthright citizenship goes back to the
That's
English,
true.
the English law, English common law, and they said this is the law here in America, and that's the basis of birthright citizenship here. 14th Amendment, thanks to Asian American, San Franciscan born Wong Kim Ark.
And yes,
So
yeah. And
American.
is it not ironic that now a lot of racists want to keep Asians out? You know,
Yeah.
the reason
Yeah.
the Indians are getting the attention is because they have grown so rapidly. That's number one, and number two, because they're supernumerary among people who have been very successful business wise. Okay.
Yeah. Supernumerary, a big word that means
Okay.
a lot
Many,
of them.
many, means
lot.
many, lots, multiples. Yep.
There's a lot.
hmm Okay. And so
God, that's 6 syllables. That's 6 syllables to mean
Yeah,
many.
well, who's counting?
Yeah. But so there's all right. There's it's a nice word though. They're supernumerary.
Hey, hey,
Super. It's like you could make a Marvel movie about them. They're
supernumeraries.
supernumerary.
Yeah. Supernumeraries. That's not bad. I think it's been done.
Yeah, the supernumeraries.
The
Yeah.
Matrix, man.
So
The
all right.
Matrix.
Well,
There were
all
supernumerary
right. Well,
villains. Yeah.
too many. Too many. All right. So tell me. Yeah. I mean, it is ironic about Wonka Mark birthrights, but they can't. All right. So if the Republicans force a constitutional
Yeah.
convention,
Yeah.
it's not going to be easy. That's not
I
going to
don't
be
think they
easy.
could even get to that point. I don't think they even get to that point. I think what people got
No.
what people have to realize, they're not going to realize this at all because they won't admit it. Okay, and by they I mean generally the American voter. A lot of this stuff is for
Yeah.
show. I mean, it's for show, and they buy the show.
Show.
They buy the Trump show. He's got his little puppet show going, and they buy it. I mean, if you all you got to do is trace a guy like Lindsey Graham, right? There are times,
Oh yeah. Oh,
there are times when this dude, the little bounce car that hits the wall and spins around, goes in the opposite direction. That's Lindsey Graham, man. He could say one thing on Wednesday, and on Thursday, man, he's 180 degrees in the opposite direction.
Yeah. On January 6th,
Yeah.
right? On the
It was the
January
worst
6th,
thing. I've
he was
had
going to
enough.
work
I'm
on
off that
January
train.
6th.
Yeah.
Yeah. On January 7th, totally different track.
Yeah.
January 8th.
No,
So,
the next
this
day he was buying a heavy supply of Vaseline.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was baby oil. Maybe he was a P.
No,
Diddy guy.
you're confusing him with a younger guy. What's his name? Gates.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A younger Southerner. So, Dan. So this is what we have to look forward to. 2025.
Wait, another Southerner from a good family. Remember that.
Yeah, Matt Gates. Yeah.
They're a good and powerful family. That Gates family.
Yeah. So, So are you looking at 2025 with hope? Where is the hope? Where is the hope?
About guidance, where people are going to look for guidance.
Yeah, where's
you're going to have people who already have ideologically based understanding of the system. Okay, so they lean towards the liberal leans towards what methods do we have to create a fairer, more equal society. Okay, that's what they're all about. Who is threatened by creating a more equal society?
Capitalists.
They perceive themselves as being displaced by the undeserving. Okay. So you got one attitude is we are here now. We occupy this position in the society now. We do not want to share this position by people who might displace us. What were the neo-Nazis saying in Charleston?
They will not replace us.
Yeah, Jews will not replace us. They said that you will not replace us, and they said Jews will not replace us. Right?
Yeah, they were specific there.
Okay, so what's that all about? They did the whole routine with the brown shirts and everything, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't remember what happened to that first group of brown shirts.
Yeah, and look, we're gonna have this. The first day on January 22nd, 21st, something like that. Trump says he's going to pardon all the January 6ers. That's going to be a real, that'll disappoint half the country.
But see, he's announced it in advance. So are they disappointed in advance, or are they just waiting to see? And that's where I'm at. I think people are just waiting to see. They're not guided by ideology.
They feel really.
I'd say the majority of people, especially those who voted for Trump, are just waiting to see. Some people are already scared now because the more he talks about mass deportation, the more farmers are scared.
Okay? Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, look, Elon Musk is just a high-tech farmer. He wants his employees. He wants his H1Bs, and
I almost gagged on water.
I mean, it's the truth, though.
He's a high-tech farmer.
Because he's got his little his Tesla plants out in the Central Valley, right? And they hire people of color, but they bring in a lot of H1Bs, and the
Yeah.
H1Bs come in, and they don't get to stay. They don't get to stay. They get to like
Well, they get to stay. They get to stay as long as the employer allows them to stay. So there's not a limit. I mean, there's not a 2 or 3 year contract limit or anything like that.
they
They
just
could sign up for a contract, and then you would be right that at
you
the
know,
termination of their contract, they got to go back.
um,
Okay,
but,
but I know a whole lot of Asians, man. That were H1Bs, and sometimes they successfully got permanent residency status, by going to court,
yeah.
and at other times they went undocumented,
But,
essentially.
but yeah, here's the thing, because the green card system is backlogged. You don't have a lot of H1Bs going to that next level to get green cards.
That's
So
right.
if you got an H1B, you got a H1B underground if you want if you want to stay a while,
Yeah.
and that's what that makes it part of the broken system,
Yeah.
which you know Elon Musk won't cop to when he's just talking about the criminals and the fentanyl pushers and that
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah, yeah. That's gonna
But
be fun. I mean, I want to watch that. I want to watch them do that. But
watch the open contradictions,
well,
the open hypocrisy.
no, I want. Well, it's not only about hypocrisy. It's just about the mechanics. How are they going to do it? You know, and they say no, we're not going after. There was a whole bunch of people who voted for Trump that were Latino,
Oh yeah,
or Mexican in heritage,
yeah,
and they're saying, and some of them were immigrants themselves, and at one time were undocumented,
yeah.
and they're saying, well, they're not coming after us.
Yeah,
They're coming after the criminals. Okay, I want to see that work.
yeah, yeah. And actually, there's a lot of stories like that across the spectrum. There are poor whites who voted for Trump. We're saying, he's going to cut back on our benefits, but our Social Security or our whatever, welfare benefits or whatever, and they're wondering, is he going to cut us? Is he going to cut us?
What were they thinking when they voted for him?
He was going to help them buy eggs cheaper.
That's basically, he's going to drive down the price of. Well, one of his big things was, remember he kept on repeating groceries.
Oh yeah,
Like he just discovered the freaking word. Groceries. It's a beautiful word. You hear the word groceries, and that's going. What the hell is this moron talking about, man?
Yeah, I don't know. I just it'll be interesting. He's good for the news business if anyone really watched or read the news anymore. No, I mean it seems like
Well, that survey showed, that the majority of people who voted for Trump, they're not watching political news. That absolutely makes sense, right?
I mean the ratings for all the non-Trumpy networks, MSNBC, CNN, are down.
They're dropping like a rock.
Yeah. NBC wants to sell off MSNBC. I don't. The name MSNBC. People probably don't even understand why it's called MSNBC, and that's because
Microsoft.
right. Well, right. There was a time when people wanted to put things on TV on. Well, I mean, they are online now, but there was an MSNBC sort of brand. But I don't think there's a connection anymore, is there?
No, I don't think so.
Between Microsoft, it's just that's the way we always call it. Too bad Apple never got into it, because they could have been. This is Apple NBC, or this is and now Apple is $4 trillion, $4 trillion industry, and we got. I mean, it's. I just remember at the infancy of MSNBC, but to get back to the point, their audience has plummeted.
Well, it went up
as much as CNN's.
Remember how it jacked up? It went up when Biden announced that he was dropping out.
Right.
It went up.
Yeah.
Right. And then my question was at the time, Well, how long is that going to last, right? And it lasted right up until Trump won.
Yeah.
And then there it went. It's going to plummet. I think they still have some heavily favored shows. I really, yeah. If you watch MSNBC regularly, or like I do, you got to watch. You have to balance that out with other stuff.
Like
You have to balance it out with You got to look at CNN.
BBC,
You got to look at ABC. CBS.
BBC.
Oh, did I hear that right? Really? Okay, Canadian.
No, BBC.
Oh, okay. That's British.
No, Netanyahu channel, BBC. No, the British, of course, the British.
No, BBC.
BBC. Oh, there's a
BBC.
BBC.
Yeah, BB's not long for this world, man. He's got to keep a war cooking. Now they're attacking the Houthis, right?
Things aren't looking good for them. They got to go. They
he can't let go. He's got to have his finger on a gun, and he's got to keep shooting.
And look, the same thing's going to be true for Trump. He's going to say, "I need a government. Need a government to lead. I got to go. I got to, I can't be a lame duck."
And the American public, that's what is going to change. The uneducated are going to remain pretty much the uneducated. Okay. Yeah. One of the other big differentiators was college education. And, even there, we were surprised by college educated people who ostensibly had to take Econ 100, 101, or courses like that as required courses. And they're still voting for Trump. I mean, what the hell is that? There's none of the stuff that Trump talks about makes friggin' sense, especially tariffs, right? Yeah. They're paying. I mean, right out of his face, he says, they pay, right? It's like the people whose stuff we're importing and placing tariffs on, they pay. How do they? That gets translated over to Americans paying, and so. I think they're going to understand that. If they don't understand it, if those tariffs go into effect, and even for a moment they raise their prices, okay, it's over. I mean, people are going to be running. They're already. I mean, the latest surveys said that only about 19% of liberals or people who voted for Harrison Walz think we're going in the right direction. Okay, and less than 90%.
Well, only Trump himself only Trump 1% approval rating. His approval.
Oh yeah, I know. But I'm talking about right direction, wrong direction. There's a right direction, wrong. There's a couple of right direction, wrong direction surveys recently, and they show that that only less than 30% of the total population think that the country is going in the right direction. And that's not even basing it on Trump or the Democrats. It's not Republican or Democrat. Are we going in the right direction?
That means
so very little confidence. Even now that Trump is in, he's going to be in the driver's seat. Yeah. Very little confidence. So I think it's going to come down to the contest between Musk and Trump. So
yeah, and if there's no ideology, right? People are going to be they're going to play it loose and fast.
They already have. I mean, that's what happened with the 2024 election.
Yeah, just lead me. I mean, that's like we're lemmings or something, It's like we're not thinking for ourselves.
Comparison has been made. I remember Oliphant, the great political cartoonist, did a lemming thing, that decades ago.
Yeah,
the lemming thing. I think it was during the Reagan administration.
Yeah, the lemmings. I mean, it's sort of you got confirmation that sentient things, can react in that way. We're supposed to be, a more prominent species, and we should know more.
Yeah, can we be sure that people understand the reference we're making? They may not understand what a lemming is.
What is
what we're talking about is lemming behavior.
lemming behavior, which is like just people, and the lemmings look like penguins, and they're walking toward the edge of the cliff, and they are following each other to their deaths.
Yes,
And
it's
that
crowd.
is
Yeah, crowd effect.
that
So to the extent that they're willing to go off the edge of the cliff. Yeah,
yeah, that is the lemming way,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
I in some of my classes I used a protozoa, single cell protozoa in a jar, and I
single.
said, look at how they follow the
You
light.
can't even see the protozoa.
Look at them follow the light. Yeah.
You need a microscope.
Not when they're in a gang.
Oh, the gang. This is a like
They're in the gang. Yeah,
thousand
you get
protozoans.
swampy water. You get
Yeah,
swampy water. Yeah,
yeah, and you can see their
you get
silly.
those little amoeba.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but the lemmings, you think would have, they in an animatronic world, they look like they could be people. They look like they could be. They're smart enough to make a decision, but they follow each other. They follow each other
That's the problem.
to their deaths.
One of the most popular top 10 books, I think it was number one for a few weeks, was a book by Vance Packard
Oh yeah, Vance
in the
Packard. He did.
60s.
Yeah,
A Nation of Sheep. Was that Vance Packard?
I don't know. I don't. It's. I mean, Vance Packard wrote a lot of those sort of books. The lemming. Here's a lemming. I'm looking at the lemmings, and the lemmings don't look like they don't. They look more like. Let's see, someone who blindly follows a crowd, maybe even toward catastrophe, is called a lemming. Over the past century, the myth has been invoked to express modern anxieties about how individuality is. Let's say how individuality.
A Nation of Sheep was written by William J. Lederer.
Okay, I got it.
William J. Lederer.
All right, so the lemmings actually aren't like penguins; they're more like little rodents.
Yes, they are.
They're little rodents.
Yeah, they are.
They
They look like mice.
yeah, and they're in Norway.
Yes.
So their favorite music, their favorite composer is Edvard Grieg. Edvard Grieg.
No, I think they're cheating across national lines, and they're ABBA freaks.
ABBA. No, ABBA, Sweden.
I know. I said they're cheating across national lines.
So now lemmings can swim. They can swim.
Well,
So
good
if they
for
reach,
them, but they're going over the cliff in large numbers.
yeah, they don't
Just make sure you don't land on another lemming, right?
say so. So they say, yeah. And you look at a lemming, and they look like little gerbils.
Yeah,
So
they're cute. They're cute.
they're cute.
They're cute, but unfortunately, they have a herd mentality.
Yeah.
Remember when talking about herd? What was it? Yeah, if everybody catches it, we'll have herd immunity. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I said, yeah, that's real lemming.
Lemming like. So we are we should be better than lemmings, but we're not.
Oh, no kidding. Anyway.
So all right, so Dan,
you have to look at all of those elements, right? You got to look at right now. It's down to money and race. Okay, it's down to money and race. It's down to the capitalist way. What's going to make us more profitable, right? Because those are the kind of people, and they wanted this, right? Remember, the Tea Party said we get Trump's the guy, man, because we want a businessman in there, And what is the role of government? And if you look back at Jefferson, Adams, Madison, right? What do they say? The role of government is to control commerce. It's one of the things that it's supposed to do. Biggest things, right?
Yeah, and and this just came over the news. You have Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary. She informed Congress today that if lawmakers do not act to raise or suspend the nation's debt limit as soon as January 14th, she would most likely need to begin using extraordinary measures to prevent the United States from defaulting on the debt. And this is a debt created by, really, I mean, is it Joe Biden or is it
It,
Donald
well,
Trump?
it was created by everybody, but the only people who lowered the debt were all Democrats.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I mean, Donald Trump certainly exacerbated the debt by,
I should clarify: the only presidents
yeah,
under whose leadership the debt was lowered were all Democrats. It went up under
right.
Republicans
And the
and it
whole,
went down under Democrats.
this is a simple thing about income and outflow, right? And so if you spend more and then you cut your income, or you spend more but your income raises, that's good. But who has cut income to the United States in the form of taxes? Republicans. And that is really what's exacerbating the debt right now. And then who has asked for the debt limit ceiling to be raised? Well, Donald Trump has asked for it. He wants to have it because he wants to cut more taxes and enrich his Republican cohorts. So,
Yeah, and so if people are not convinced that could be easily become a reality if they just cut more jobs. Uh, Remember when there was a cutback on the hiring of federal
yeah,
employees, and then they had an attrition program where if people retired, they wouldn't replace their positions, and it lowered substantially the number of federal employees. And then everybody said, "Well, wait a minute." All of a sudden, the tax base got affected, right? And they started seeing that even if you laid off that number of employees and you were saving money, you were losing money in
yeah,
terms of revenue coming into the government because they they weren't earning as much income and they weren't paying as much income tax. Oh, oh,
yeah.
gee, you know, you mean, well, okay, wow, 7 million people are employed by the federal government. Oh no, that can't be true. Okay, well, what about the American military? There's a couple million right there.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, we're going to have some tough decisions, and if we're not ideological about it, we're going to have to be practical. And who's going
Well,
to
but
win
see
out?
that is you're absolutely right. But see what is pragmatic is the problem. If you
Mm,
don't live by a set of principles and all you do is react to the practicality, come up with a practical answer to an immediate problem, right?
yeah,
Then you essentially will not only people will only look at you as being truly purely transactional.
yeah.
And what you have right now from past experience was a transactional president.
And that's what Donald Trump is. That's
Yeah.
what that's. He's all transactional.
But that's what people think business is.
Yeah,
In ideal terms, how do people describe business?
yeah,
It's
and
people making promises, right,
or
and
making
keeping their promises at
or,
arm's length, so people are informed about what the deal is, right? I
yeah.
know what you want to sell me, you know what I want to pay for it, etc. That's
And
a
the
it's
and the
called a bilateral transaction,
but
right?
the problem with having business as your model for government is that it's all about profit and not about the people.
Exactly,
And the
exactly.
people aren't always sharing in the profits because the profit, it only profits whoever's the shareholders are. And ideally, in a democracy, it should be the public, but not necessarily. Increasingly, under a Trumpocracy, it's who's enriched. Trump, people with government contracts like Elon Musk and things like that. That it's not the regular folks, the people who are faced with cutbacks to programs that they benefit from that you know don't benefit Trump. He didn't care, so out they go.
I
Uh,
think what we need to do is to talk Mexico into building more hybrids and electric vehicles. Okay,
Mexico,
Mexico and Canada.
yeah,
They both have plants
yeah,
where the assembly of cars that eventually get sold in the United States is done.
Oh yeah.
And
Volkswagen's down there.
Canada also supplies parts, and
Yeah.
we're talking about not just a door handle or a bumper or something like that. We're talking about transmissions and
Right.
differentials, and important parts of the drivetrain.
Well,
The
well,
engine. I
well,
mean,
Dan, this is all possible when they become the 51st and 52nd state. Right.
the 50. What? Wait. You're gonna split Canada so that it becomes the 51st. Oh, Mexico's
Oh,
be the
Mexico.
52nd.
Mexico's the 52nd.
Okay.
And then the Philippines can be the 53rd state. It was the
Okay.
first
Okay.
colony.
Yeah. Well, then you got to throw in Guam.
Yeah.
Guam's only a territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep expanding.
Yeah. Well, 55 stars on the flag. It's possible.
It's
You
probably,
could do it. It could be done.
we'll make them
It could be
smaller.
done.
Smaller.
Yeah.
So,
Greenland. Greenland.
I don't know.
Greenland. Panama. You know.
Here's the thing.
He's got it going, man.
Trump
I don't know. I'm wondering what the hell is Trump reading or listening to? I don't know what he's doing. But when he came up with Panama and the canal, I said, "Oh man, here we go." And then we want it back.
He wants to be the crazy man, right? And here's the thing, though. If he's saying that this is my negotiating tactic,
Yeah.
well, now that he said it's a
Just say that.
negotiating tactic, we can just ignore. We can ignore him, right? And then just now here's what we really
It doesn't
mean.
mean anything. Yeah. No.
It negates the effect of it by saying it's a negotiating tactic. He should have said, "I'm for real. I really mean this," and then that would have meant, "Oh, shoot, now we're in trouble."
Yeah, and this is where we're at, Emil. In real terms, all we can do is wait and see what happens in that first,
All right. So
first
we'll
6 months, because all of it's going to be really funny. I mean, it'd be foolish for anybody, even us, to try and predict what's going to happen in the next 6 months.
So what you're saying is, let's just get drunk and have on New Year's Eve. It's not going to matter.
Unfortunately, all of our, at least among us, right, and our closest relatives, right, all of our birthdays towards the end of the year. So we'd have to celebrate like other people's, maybe President's Day or something.
Yeah.
We could celebrate that and get a little high.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to be very somber New Year's Eve, but still joyful for family, friends, that kind of thing. But for our country, I'll try to have some hope. I'll try. I mean, here's the thing: if you show any kind of niceness to Trump, are you, just giving in? Are you? I mean, he might have some good things. I don't know. It doesn't mean I like. He's not ideological, like you said. He's transactional, so he might come up with a nice, some good policy. I kind of doubt it, but.
Well, people say that. How can we say that he's not he's not ideological when he takes all these positions that are traditional Republican or conservative, right? Positions, or they are based on traditional conservative values, and the answer is that's being pragmatic for him. That's it.
Yeah, because he has their vote. He's got them lured. He can't.
And the Republicans themselves have said he's not a Republican. Okay, so then why are you supporting him? Because he does what we like.
He wins. That's what he does.
He wins on issues that we like. That he's doing what we want him to do, and so they're being pragmatic too.
Yeah,
they're being they have ideological positions, right? But he's the horse they want to ride because he, as a practical matter, he's the more likely vehicle for us to realize what we want than doing any deals with the Democrats, right? So
it means the only thing left, Dan, is laughter yoga. That's the only thing left is laughter yoga. Where we laugh intentionally.
If I start coughing, I will mute myself.
We laugh intentionally. So Dan, I appreciate the conversation as always, but as we come to an end, I'm telling you, the answer is intentional laughter.
Intentional.
Emil Amok's intentional laughter yoga, where we laugh 1 minute at the end of the show for world peace. And so here's how you do it. You take one day of the year and one day again, one day you have the milkshake.
Are we starting?
Oh, oh. Oh.
Way over him. Over.
Uh,
Vance
100,
Packard. Vance Packard is still alive, man.
yeah, man. The hidden persuaders. A minute 15 for world peace. Laughter yoga, intentional laughter for a minute 15, almost a minute 16.
You had to say world peace, man. I mean, you sounded like a Miss Universe contestant, damn it.
For world peace. For world peace. We're laughing for world peace. It helps. Look, I mean, you get all like worked up, gets the endorphins going, laughter yoga. And
Dude,
I am, Dan.
How can this be? How can this be? Vance Packard was born in 1914, man.
Yeah.
How could he still be alive? But anyway.
Cryogenics. And maybe laughter yoga.
Could be, man.
No, I'm telling you, it
Oh
gets
my
your endorphins going. Yeah, if you suck in your stomach there, you get an ab workout. You get.
Oh yeah. No, I felt it.
An ab workout from laughing.
Yeah, actually.
They actually got.
You could also relieve gas.
You relieve gas, and no one knows because the gas in your breath. The going out. It's just like they say, oh, both ends of the candle.
Just have to laugh loud.
This is the thing about I studied with Dr. Madan Katarian via the web, and I became a certified laughter yogi. And he told me that they all got together in a Mumbai park, like a half dozen or so people, and they started telling jokes to each other, but the jokes weren't funny. They had to say, "Well, screw the jokes. Let's just laugh." And they started laughing, and they said, "Hey, we got something here. This is like an exercise. It's like a breathing exercise.
It's very purgative. It's purgative. Yeah.
Yeah, you get the endorphins going, the serotonin, and suddenly the dopamine, and oh my God, you've released this thing."
But then, if all of that happens, then as soon as you stop laughing, you feel like going to sleep.
No. If you stop it now, so here's the thing. Now you got to the cool down phase of the laughter.
What's the cool down phase?
It's just you
just
quiet.
Breathe.
The quiet, breathe. Yeah, right. Yeah. Follow your breath and breathe.
All right.
Follow your breath and breathe. And just cool down and relax and be quiet. So you feel better.
I told you can fall asleep.
People
fall asleep in our yoga class all the time after the breathing exercise.
I swear I went to a yoga class. I went to the Temple of the Universe. My guru guy down in Florida, and I couldn't do it because I don't do yoga. I don't I know downward dog but I know laughter yoga I can do, but I don't know yoga, and so I tried to do it.
You didn't do enough. That's all.
It was hard.
It was way more to it than just downward dog. Downward dog is great position, but you have to do other things in complementary to downward dog as part of the exercise.
Yeah, I did forward puppy. that was that was a good.
No, there's actually a cat
Okay.
and
Oh, I know.
cat and cow.
Warrior woman. Warrior woman.
Cat and cow. You know.
But no, it's good. But at least I like that. I think that's better than hot yoga.
Well,
You
hot
like,
yoga is just turning up the temp and
yeah.
you know
It's just
watching
like
people perspire,
doing the pose.
hoping that they didn't have curry for lunch. You know.
Yeah. Oh boy. No, I know. I've been to. It's a. But I do like the laughter yoga, and it's a thing that I'm telling people that there are two things they could do. They can laugh at all the things that are happening outside, and to feel good on the inside. And then the other thing is poetry. Either you read it or you write it.
Now you know your suggestion was really
Start.
very yeah, it was very rewarding for me because I'm going back and pulling all my poetry books
Yeah.
and starting to look at them. The neat thing is that you can open up any of your books of poetry and find, you know, a poem that you hadn't seen in years, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
appreciate the metaphor all
Yeah.
over again, right?
And I'll tell you the thing that I discovered. I told this to Ishmael Reed when I in show 813, I think it was, and he said, I told him I was writing poetry. He said, "Oh, because you think it's easy, right?" I said, "No, no, it's hard." No, and he said, "Well, why not? Everyone should be writing poetry." He said, "In Japan, they have a day where everyone writes poetry, and it's a thing that everyone should do. It's an
Are
activity
they
that
writing poetry or are they writing haiku?
well, haiku is poetry,
It
so
is.
I'm
It is,
sure.
but a very short form. It's very compressed.
Well, 17 syllables, right? I mean,
That's
it's
pretty
poetry.
compressed.
I mean, if you read Basho, the haiku master, or I like the Chinese poems, Li Po, or
Yeah.
Tufu.
Yeah.
Yeah, his poetry, the Chinese poem, and then you read the blank verse, the free verse of say someone like a Charles Bukowski, or you get to the Beats or Lawrence Ferlinghetti, the City Lights guy. I mean, I love him. Um, the California the poets. There's so many poets, from the '60s and '70s. There's I realize also that in high school I did not, or I did have a real grounding in. If you just took all the honors English classes, you got a good grounding in poetry from Beowulf to Canterbury Tales to Chaucer to on through John Keats, the Romantic
Yeah,
poets, Shakespeare.
Shakespeare. Well, I was wondering when you were going to get to Shakespeare because that was
He's in the Renaissance, or you got to get to the Old English to get to the Renaissance, and then we were going for
I
the
like
beat.
E. Cummins. E. Cummins.
Oh, E. Cummings, yes, E. Yeah, when you first see E. Cummings, you say, "Yeah, screw the rules, screw punctuation." Yeah, but it's all about the feelings that are captured in the poet.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a reflective time instead of the anger that we felt in the first Trump years. We're not going to capitulate, but I think this is going to be a reflective time, and
I think it's going to be an intelligent resistance. That's what I'm trying to build towards an intelligent resistance.
that. Well, let's see who the leaders are, because some of the leaders they mentioned, I don't know. You get down, look, far down before you start talking about Gavin Newsom. Kamala Harris is right up there. Wes Moore, Maryland's governor, he's up there. They don't. I mean, Gretchen Whitmer is in the top 10, say,
Yeah,
but
you're talking about potential leadership, and I think it's not only the leadership. I think it has to be driven by the states,
well,
by governors and
grassroots.
yeah. Well, Wes Moore is one of those from
Yeah,
the states.
yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
it's grassroots. It's grassroots. Yeah, it has to be. We have to revive that, and the easiest way to do that is by engaging kids. Is talking about the reality of
oh,
government
yeah.
to kids. Even in my generation, it was like a popularity contest. it was less than about ideology, and it was more about
Yeah.
popularity, right? And we gotta move away from that.
Yeah.
We have to
Because
talk about how there's no reason that you can't teach kids the relationship between policy, law, and the quality of life. You
yeah.
just pick values. Why is it that
Otherwise,
this part of the
yeah.
city is not well lit? Real practical things like that. Why are the streets in need of repair here?
That's politics.
I did a whole thing on what are potholes.
Yeah. That's
It
that's
is,
politics.
and I did a whole thing on potholes, and it caught fire. Students went around taking pictures of potholes all over the
Yeah.
city and saying, "Why isn't this
Yeah.
fixed?" Right?
Who's in
But
charge?
but
Who's fixing
and then they have to describe. Yeah, where is it? Why isn't it getting enough attention? Are other parts of the city getting attention? That
it?
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And
So that's
yeah,
what we have to
because
do.
if we stay popularity, we'll have Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce as our first lady and first and
Beyonce, don't leave
Beyonce
Beyonce
and
out.
whoever. I don't know. He's
Yeah, I didn't watch that game and I screwed up. I didn't record it.
oh,
And I should have recorded it just for the
they're going to
13
show
minute
it. They're going to show
halftime.
it on Netflix. Yeah,
Oh, they're
yeah,
gonna
they're going to
have it
package it up
packaged.
and show it because how can you not? How can you not?
All right.
They're all about the money. They're all about the money. So
Well, I already subscribed, so yeah,
they will they will get
they will
yeah.
assure the continuity of
Yeah.
my subscription.
All right, Dan. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Happy New
All right,
Year.
man.
We'll see you again. See you
Happy
next
New
year.
Year.
Yeah,
See you
and
soon.
yeah,
Hugs to
yeah,
Cass
and
and the kids.
thank.
And then don't
Oh,
party too hard.
I
Be
barely drink.
reasonable.
I barely
You know.
drink, and so
Oh no. Oh wait, we got.
what?
Oh wow, Juanita. Juanita
Oh,
Solis
Juanita,
Wilson is
wishing.
saying
Oh,
hi. Thank you, Juanita. Just wow, it's really great to hear from you, and I'm glad you're able to find
yes,
us.
it's so good
You
that
know.
yeah. Hi, Juanita. Okay, Juanita. Hi.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks
All
so
right.
much. And to you and your family, and
Yeah.
hugs to any of the elders that are
Oh
older
yeah.
than me,
Yeah.
especially.
They need
You
the
know,
hugs.
terrible.
Okay. All right, Dan. There he goes, my
All right.
friend. There he goes, my
Take care,
friend
man.
Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethics at the San Francisco State University, Professor Emeritus. Professor Emeritus. And so, yeah, so we had our laughter yoga. Rewind the tape and just see where laughter yoga. What do you mean, Emil? What do you mean? Well, I mean, I've been talking to Dan nearly busted a gut there. I mean, they had to aerosol the room there he was in. We had a laughter yoga, and it does. You feel so much better afterwards. You do. You could do it. I mean, you could do an unsanctioned laughter yoga without me. We'll put this up on Patreon, patreon.com / Emil Amok. Catch it on YouTube. Tell your friends. This is show 814. Thank you very much. Have a great, I guess, the tail end of the holidays. We'll come back next week with more. We end with our cool down regular meditation, our metta, METTA, loving kindness. And so as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time.